Okay, let me click this button here. Okay, so we haven't got very long, and in fact, we've got 5 minutes less than we thought. So I'm going to compress what I was going to talk about really into sort of 2 parts. I'm an artist, I'm a sculptor, and I was part of a group of artists, still am in fact, called Grey World, and we make public art, usually in urban spaces, and we've been doing this for a very long time, about 25 years. I'm going to whiz through that a little bit because it's important just very quickly to understand why we ended up creating tails and animatronic ears, why that might be something where it comes from. Actually, the journey, very, very briefly, the journey that we've just got in discovery, really, because it turns out that there are lots and lots of reasons why people want to wear tails and ears. And my set of reasons are mine and unique to me, but there are many people with very different other kinds of interests. So very, very briefly, let me skip this forward. I'm a professor of public art at Goldsmiths, University of London. What that really entails is ways in which we investigate and play with different ways of interacting in public space. So I'm really interested in the methodology and the ways in which simple interaction can create something fantastic or fabulous, memorable, something fleeting, something ephemeral. And these are the kinds of things that we research. If you think about it, Grey World really is the thing that I've been spending most of my time with for a long time, and the professorship was an interesting way of actually sort of going a little bit deeper. I set up Grey World in '93. The first interactive artwork that I did, and this will give you start to give you a flavour of the kind of things that I'm personally interested in. You know, when you're a child and you pick up a stick and you run it along railings and get that lovely sound, we took a set of railings and we tuned them. So when you ran a stick along it, it played The Girl from Ipanema. Now, from my point of view, what that is as a public work of art is important, but it's just as important as what it isn't. You know, it isn't some big bronze statue with a traffic cone on his head. It's a method of creating interaction. So over the years, we've made lots of different projects, and I'm going to gloss through these very quickly. If you're interested, please go to greyworld.org. You can see hundreds of projects. But let me start by showing you some quick videos of some projects that we've done. Let's see if this works. Of course it's going to work. I'm going to show a video by clicking on this little thing down here. Actions, is that right? Here we are. Share an external video. Paste it in there. Apple TV, and hit go.
After 2 centuries of trading at the same site in the City of London, the stock exchange is moving to a striking new home next to St. Paul. After 2 centuries of trading at the same site in the City of London, the stock exchange is moving to a striking new home next to St. Paul's Cathedral. The Queen opened the building today, with all eyes on the rather beguiling work of art which forms the centrepiece of the new stock exchange, as June Kelly now explains.
So this is an 8-story high artwork. Please note the very terrified
and the source should come to life.
It was perhaps one of the most unusual invitations the Queen has ever received. She pressed one electronic ball and more than 700 others suspended on metal cables began to move. The balls are the centrepiece and talking point of the new stock exchange building.
What we've tried to do with this sculpture is create something which makes physical the ephemeral nature of the stock market. For many, it's a very...
What I'm trying to do there is to make physical what is to many people a completely mysterious thing. I mean, the stock market's trades go up and down. We tried to make a 3D sculpture, a sculpture which you can model almost anything by sending those spheres to different parts of the atrium. I'm going to whiz through. I could talk about just that one for about a month, but I think you might all just want to kill yourself. So I'm going to show you something else really quickly. Apple C, click on here, down here, stop sharing external video. Share an external video, here we go, paste it in there. This is another kind of interactive work. This is a project called Paint. Let's see if it'll start playing. You think, well, I have to, is it playing for you guys? Oh, there it is. Okay, great. Take a photograph of yourself and squirt that photograph into a bucket, and then hurl your face all over a wall. Of course, other people with their buckets can come on and hurl their faces all over that wall, all over the room. And if you don't have a bucket, you can do it from your phone. Take a photograph of that and squirt the paint all over the wall, spray your face all over the wall. And because They've been out to paint worlds across the world. And this caught the world. It did really nice things. Lots of fun. Basically, the brand was very keen for us to play as much as we wanted, and that's what we found. Okay, let me show you another one. There's another one. Basically, I've always wanted to make a rainbow, and I wanted to make the biggest, brightest, gayest rainbow I could possibly make to celebrate Pride. And so we decided to create something over the Houses of Parliament in the centre of London, and it's called Night Rainbow. We took the water from created a 35-metre Okay, sorry, there's so many things that I could show, but really what I want to try and get across is the idea that our work is about play. It's about often gentle methods of interaction and creating situations which are playful, but also give you a sense of being creative in some way. You've seen the things there. I'm actually not going to show gravity after all, but and that leads me to Tails. You know, it's been amazing. I just wanted to have a tail. I've always wanted to have a tail. I think evolution has been particularly cruel in that regard. You know, when I look at my cat and I wonder what's going on in his mind, it's often his tail, which really gives me a sense of his mood. And for me, the experiments with tails really started off as a grey ward installation. They were opportunities to create really interesting and exciting little creative moments in a city. So you can imagine, for example, being well dressed and going into the bank, but having your tail knock the pencils off when you're applying for an overdraft. Or you can imagine sitting next to somebody that you're attracted to, and whilst you're unable to actually express yourself, your tail is making it very clear that you're particularly interested in the person that you're sitting next to. For me, it was a wonderful extension of humanity, really, but also it was an opportunity to create little special moments that perhaps you wouldn't be able to create without one. And so the Tail Company was born. It started off as an installation with Greyward, as I say. Let me just show you our first prototype. Let's see if this works. Click the button, paste the link, like that. So this is our first prototype. This is 2006. And you might have noticed I'm not shy of the time. So this was the little the original outfit idea was top hat and tails, you see. This is without doubt the coolest part of London when you go to comics, which means that a lot of the people pretend to not notice the fact that that's got a tail. Yeah, I'll just keep it running until I end up with people. I've just watched this guy walking past. Right? That's how cool he's looking. Very, very cool. And anyway, you kind of give us what I mean about the motion of this second. This fella here, you'll see. Picks up a magazine. Is it interested in that? No. Down goes his tail. Oh, much more. So it becomes kind of a very simple way of anyway, the point is, at this point, we were very interested in that opportunity, that creative opportunity. Every time I showed the tail, every time I did a talk or a speech, wearing a tail or in an urban space, people kept saying, oh, I want a tail. I've always wanted a tail. I had a tail when I was a kid. I made one out of some material. And I suddenly realized that it was a kind of universal feeling that for many people, it was a childhood thing. And for some, far more than we can probably imagine. It's something that is still there into adulthood. And I was delighted to hear this. We set up the tail company. And yeah, we ended up with a business. And let me just show you this. Let's see which one I've chosen. Okay, so this is just a selection of tails. Not that many either. I just kind of edited it together. The original tails were remote controlled. They have 9 moves, and you can call them up on a remote. And I was absolutely blessed to meet Leinir, who allowed us really to take that into a new direction and open up all the possibilities that software would give us. Let me just show you what I mean by that. By copying this one. There's we can basically our tails, the digitails, which are the app-controlled tails, which Leinir wrote, can learn new tricks. At the moment, we're just adding the feature so that as you walk, the tail can work out your speed and your motion and create moves based on that, on the fly. Recently, we've added move alarms, and we've added all kinds of new things. And that's the wonderful thing about breaking out of the hardware there and allowing big brains to come along and solve some other problems. And most recently of all, how am I doing for time? 2 minutes over. Most recent of all, we've started playing with ears, which I'm just going to show you this. Beautifully, they sync with the tails. They're being modeled as we can do. Great bit of guitar playing too. So the point is, it's an ecosystem, to use that cheesy word, but it really is. If you've got digitail and you've got the ears, they can now sync together. They are something that is being actively developed. I mean, they're out now, and people are getting them, and there's things that we will keep adding, changing things to them as life goes on. But it's been a really exciting little journey so far. And as I say, thanks to Leinir and their skills and their understanding of KDE, which I'm sure, and the blockchain, this system line of software, I think we're going to have a very interesting kind of future. If anybody is interested in getting hold of them, please put the word KDE Talk in the box on the checkout if you are interested. If you do, I will put some special presents in there only for people who've sat here and handled me for 12 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Leinir right now. All yours, mate.
All right. Let me just see if I can do this. Take presenter. All right. There we go. Right. So some of you will already know me, but I'll quickly run through who I am. I have been a member of the KDE community since about as long as I can really remember doing computery things, but since 2002. My first Akademy was in 2007. Which was in Glasgow, of all places. I have tails, come and talk. And sort of my main work has been through the unfortunately now defunct Gluon, but many things came out of that. So there's a whole lot of stuff which grew out of Gluon, which is now in all sorts of places throughout. Used throughout KDE's software stack. My main interaction, or my day job right now is with Blue Systems, and effectively I'm sponsored to work on various bits of the KDE software stack. Most notably, that would be Kirigami, which we use for the app that controls these things. I'm also the maintainer of Peruse, which is a comic book reader, and I have just been told that I should take over maintainership of KNew stuff, which is the software that lets us interact directly with the KDE store. And occasionally I look like that, which is kind of how I ended up in contact with Andrew and his entire thing. So the way I found my way into this was, you look through Kickstarter and go, ooh, that looks kind of cool. Is it a thing? I don't know. Oh, wait, it is a thing. It's an actual thing that someone has made and that it actually works. So that's neat. There's the thing. And wait, the people that run it are pretty cool. You've just seen all of the stuff that Andrew's been involved with before, and all of, you present yourself on Kickstarter. That's the sort of thing you find. So, people with, will and skill and intention and all of that. So, perfect storm of good ideas. And then so I joined the Telegram chat and we got to talking about, so what are you going to do with the software? And we don't really know yet. We've heard of this thing called Electron, which if anybody here has worked with that, it's basically a browser that you use to, you stick it, you clone Chromium, and then you stick that in a container, and you use that to write your apps. And it can be fine for many things, but the problem is the biggest functional problem with that is if you've got a phone and you put it to sleep, any Electron app will also go to sleep. So there's no real way of having that sort of thing run in the background. So there would have been quite a lot of work involved in getting that to work in any reasonable way, and Electron would not have helped there. And so I suggested, well, we've kind of got a software stack that can do a lot of this stuff, so do you want some help? Then, well, I guess I could help out with it a bit. And so, that thing where you're building hardware, you're not really building software, so how about we make it a GPL project? And that took I don't know, was it 5 minutes it took you to realize that? Something like that. It was pretty fast anyway. Yeah, I mean, obviously, free software being this kind of liberal arts sort of thing to start with, it makes perfect sense. It sort of just fits together really well. And so that's how, we ended up doing that whole thing. And so that's a couple of screenshots of what the app looks like. If you want a closer look, I'll give you one, but we're running through a little bit quick here. So, yeah. Exactly. So just a quick list of the things that we are already using. If you want to know more about how to work with KDE software on Android and how KDE Stack helps that, there is a talk in this room immediately after hours, except, a few hours down the line. I think it's at 5 o'clock. Oh, wait. Yeah, whatever. The next talk in this room is specifically about that. So drop by there. It's really good. And so a couple of specifics for the actual things we use. Obviously, we use the Android build Docker because working with Android Studio is occasionally something of a nightmare. So we're using that one to build all of our things. The Android services are the things that make it possible for this to be off and still control the ears and the tail. And that's the way you do that is using remote objects, or the easiest way to do it anyway. And then obviously for the UI and the workflow and all of the pretty things, we use Kirigami and the Breeze icon set. And it's one of those things where I am unsure whether people realize just how much power is in having a gigantic set of icons like Breeze when you're building software. It makes an enormous difference when you don't have to go out and get, icons drawn and all of that. So yeah, definitely something people will need to look at. And it's something that we can market to people out there. So yeah, very helpful. And then there's a couple of future bits of work here. And so I'm just going to leave that on there and mention KNew stuff, because of course I am. I'm not going to go through a talk without not mentioning KNew stuff. So one thing that we did when we came up with how to make the ears do their thing was that we created a small domain-specific language to describe the ways these things wiggle. And that's just a text file, which is JSON and can be put anywhere, really. And the sort of semi-midterm kind of idea for that is that we would like to eventually make it possible to share the moves and things that these things do. And so KNew stuff is the obvious choice for that. We already have all of the functionality there, so we've got the store for it. We've got all the server-side stuff. We've got we've got all the bits that make that work. So yeah, and then very short. I think we might want to skip that because we're now 22 minutes.
Yeah, and you're doing it ably anyway. For sure.
Oh yeah, I'm holding this little thing here.
What I'd really like to do as well is just for 10 seconds, just to say thank you to the people who've supported us, especially Dark Gru, Tatsui Seki, Tigris, Kaldar, Double Wagger, Derby Jen, and Wolfie, and not forgetting the grumpiest cat of all talent for being there when we need it. Because a lot of this is made, reflected back, altered, changed, and put back out there. So we can't really do this at all in a bubble. This is the nature of open source.
Yeah, there's a lot of interaction, goes in various different directions.
Awesome stuff. I think we have now 2 minutes for questions, and you do feel free to demo in the meantime. I mean, just entertain us. Leinir. Yeah.
I wish we had more.
Well, I have effectively been demoing the whole time. I haven't touched the phone since we started, but so one of the things that you'll notice on this is where it says Digital connected to, that's a thing that we'll need to fix. It says I'm connected to a tail. This is not a tail. So obviously bugs and people notice these things, so that's getting fixed the next version. But one of the things that means is that's how Android allows you to run stuff in the background.
That's right. And we have a fantastic mode called casual mode, which means you're not sitting there with a phone in your hand making it do stuff. I'm feeling in this particular kind of emotion. You can select a set of moves, stick it in your pocket, and go about your life. And that's casual mode.
All right. The question you guys have is actually, how do you teach them new movements? ML, AI, new additions in the code, data?
Well, Leinir has actually just has a language now which you can use to create moves, and that was a bit of a mind blow. I mean, for us, it was more hardware, how you move the servos, how they do. But Leinir has now developed that into a kind of a scripting language which allows you to describe things and let those moves live. So it's very exciting for the future.
Technically speaking, it's a JSON file, but it's a very small list of commands that you send over Bluetooth. That makes them do things.
Awesome. I hope many people will get one try it. So good luck, you guys. That's so awesome. Thanks for enriching us here. So actually,
thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah. So we are out of time for this talk. Right now, this room is empty, though, so we are actually technically not in a super huge hurry. Thanks again for the fun presentation. I really enjoyed it. I think everybody else did too. Yeah, over at the other room we have something. What's coming up? Yeah, we have 3 lightning talks coming up. Virtual sprints, the fiduciary license agreement, I can't pronounce that, but something like that, and super secret customer features. After that, we will have a lunch break, which is quite a long break since we want to accommodate different time zones a bit. We will have another round of 4-way track experience. So we will, after the session finishes, try some experiments, meet up in a room and have casual chit-chat. So I hope everybody will stick around. We'll have a new room for that. We announce that after the lightning talks. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining here, and well, see you in the other room. Thanks, Leinir.
Oh, if there's an interest for a BOF, we can do a thing, but no plans yet.
All right.
Let us know.